Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the desk. It's time to continue our day at PPLEU. And, of course, we've got a lot to talk about. There is another set upcoming. In fact, 2 more sets. But Navi just took down Virtus Pro in that one.
Yeah, looking super good, though. Virtus Pro, you have to say, market improvements, I guess, especially against the world champions, showing up, taking a map, which is a pretty monumental accomplishment, though they don't have a win in their column just yet. Mousesports got their first one last week, just barely beating out Virtus Pro, and you have to now wonder what type of performance are they going to be having.
I think Mousesports obviously looking the better end against Virtus Pro, and now Mousesports coming in with a little bit more momentum than obviously a loss would bring you, even though going to 5 does get you going in this league. Going to have a bit more of something to say against Navi, but is that really going to be the case? The question for me is that Navi and Virtus Pro, I think we're so hyper aware of each other. I feel like their draft shifted so dramatically off of what we've been seeing in the PPL that if Mousesports doesn't apply that same amount of tension or that same amount of wackiness for Navi, then maybe it could just be a straight 3-0 without this all, Navi trying to find their footing in this set.
And Navi maybe coming off a little warm off that set, as well as Virtus Pro maybe always has that element of like, the hell are these guys going to do? What do they got up their sleeves? I'm not really sure where
tank.
Really? They're
Really?
always a little bit wary about what you might be seeing coming in the draft.
Come on.
Against Virtus Pro. But credit where credit's due. Mousesports with their first win. The world champs trying to maintain that title, and nobody clinching just yet, but just about there. Not as sincere, ready to clinch one of top 2.
And, we saw a guy, Spunky, come in and try to do his, Jera impressions a little bit earlier, and he had some incredible kind of through times and spaces that sealed the deal. Really good void grips, prioritizing targets. You could tell just in terms of game sense, one of the best in the business. This lineup of Not as Sincere has looked basically impregnable. However, they have found their first loss against Fnatic, and now Virtus Pro taking a game off of them, starting to show that these guys are just normal players, albeit very, very good Paladins players.
Running different types of supports. All along the while, massive convergence there, having impact on just about anything. He's going to play just a little bit of DPS play coming out from Spunky from time to time as well when Virtus Pro requires you bring out 4 instead of just 3, but Not as Sincere throughout the day. Always have the backing of this man, and a guy that does have that DPS bone in his body, so knowing when to get aggressive on characters like Genos definitely helps. I mean, that's about 1,000 DPS you're missing out on with Luminary Genos if you are not left-clicking.
That's absolutely true, and I mean, obviously, such a great benefit. Why not take advantage of it because it applies to your own weapon? Spunky 52, 72, 377. When you're playing a lot of Genos, that's going to happen. You get in those eliminations when Astromark is on a teammate who gets a kill.
377 assists. My goodness.
Pretty simple how you could see that taking place there. Obviously, Navi, they've been the talk of the town. Slowly and surely, Fnatic has surpassed them. But Mousesports, these guys have really been the ones that I think have a purpose now. They've got their first win. How far can they raise their stake, their stock, so to speak, in the PPL?
Yeah, well, they are in I guess, can you call it a rebuilding phase if they were never fully built?
I don't know.
Still trying to figure out which way they're going to go. But they make those 2 massive adjustments in the offseasons. They pick up their Cyb 8, and they pick up their their Cog from Cephid Cloud from Virtus Pro. So they have that PPL caliber talent being brought into the roster, being brought into the fold, have experience, different viewpoints about, what was working for us in this team or that team, what can we bring to the table. But Mousesports overall, with their first win under their belt, maybe looking to take a dent in the World Championships today.
Well, let's introduce Mousesports for today, the new team in the PPL, now fresh off with a win, trying to make it 2 against Navi.
Cyb 8 finds 2, the young Italian making it work.
The 16-year-old trying to make a huge comeback. Cyb 8 gets them all.
And TB's big-time stuff. Triple kill for him, the frontliner, showing that he can slam down on the axe when you give it to him. But Andrew Doodle just rolling.
Buddy.
And he finds his target.
But Hexafire gives them cover, keeps them safe, and Cephid Cloud finds another double.
Wants to actually come through, up to the high ground, goes Shady Shades. He doesn't have his recovery.
Great team bio, showcase of guys, Cyb 8 in the middle, with the hat, per usual.
Hair always on point for sure. Doodle, a guy that played for this team in Season 1, still looked great. Despite the winless season, you definitely tell that this guy, he's got something in him. He's got a spark in that DPS role, and was a big factor in their first win against Virtus Pro in the previous week. Played a lot of Shaolin, which, as we saw, that's a big pick, especially when you're going against Not As Sincere. That was almost like the light at the end of the tunnel for Virtus Pro. So if they can get Doodle on Shaolin a decent amount today, I think he'll be one to look for, and one that is definitely going to step up if Mousesports are going to have a chance.
And it just doesn't seem like it's hard to get Shaolin nowadays. It feels like if you really want him, you could usually find a draft where you have him. I think the Zen, the Genos, they've taken priority, and you could even see the Cassie as well, despite really it not working when Madara had that as a first pick, which was, wow, that was a bummer for Virtus Pro. But I think that, Andrew, if he wants to be comfortable, it's great. He's also one of the only guys, I think, who has this much raw talent and a lot of room to grow. Only 15 years old, and one of my, favorite guys to hang out with. Sub for me on one of my streams. And you know what I love? Blaster player, too. He has that hit scan and blaster approach, and that's rare.
Yeah, he's a really rare talent. Always a big fragger for Mousesports here. Negative KD, but that's all right. That's what you're getting. That's what's going to happen.
Come on, man.
Well, when you do have those losing records here, just one win for these guys, looking to continue. And teams starting to catch fire. Teams starting to mesh. It's been 4 weeks now. You got to wonder when it's going to come together for them.
Absolutely. I think, with Mousesports, there is a bit of a ticking time bomb of when are you going to have your moment. And I think they already kind of had it, honestly, this season. I wouldn't expect them to have too many more moments. And that's not a problem. I think that, beating Navi, beating Fnatic, that would be just really reaching. That's some type of, fairy tale stuff that, hey, fairy tales can happen, but I don't know if it's going to be happening today with Navi already losing and dropping a game against Virtus Pro.
Interesting bans, Ascension Peak and Timbermill, so neither of those maps going to come into the fold. We've already seen Ascension
Ice
Peak
Mines
once today. Maybe you keep your fingers crossed, and we might make it happen. Jaguar Falls. That'll be game number 1 here. Why do you want to see Ice Mine so bad?
I know. Being completely facetious.
You freaking memeing?
I don't want to see it at all. Yeah. I don't know. No needs. Bans on the way here. Torvald taken for Mouse, and again, that kind of standard pick. We saw Phoenix and Navi first pick that when it was available. Didn't really do much. In fact, the only game they lost.
I don't know. It's one of those weird things, man. The 96 or whatever % ban rate in EU. But going winless today. Makoa, Ruckus taken off the table as well. So Bomb King, Shaolin, big DPS picks left open. Genos, Zin still available, as well as Cassie comes through first.
This is exactly what Virtus Pro did as far as draft style, and this was where it really hurt them in Game 2, where Madara just went from Shaolin, amazing game, to Cassie, and 0-8 on Frog Isle. And you got to say, hopefully Mouse have somebody who could pilot this in that way. Will this be the Andrew Doodle who takes control of this one?
And this combination, Pip and Nara, run by Fnatic in their Jaguar Falls game against Ninjas and Pajamas, looked super good for them. They absolutely dominated the floor with the Nara. Super good pick on Jaguar Falls, the ability to control the choke points on this map. Makes her almost invaluable, Fernando. Genos comes through, which tells us Mouse is going to be leaning towards that triple DPS. Not as sincere yet to reveal, I think, the overarching theme of their draft.
I mean, we honestly didn't really see the Inara Pip quite often in that Virtus Pro set, and they go right back to it here. And maybe this is just learning from the fact that, hey guys, this is working. Let's go back to it. We really enjoy this kind of style of play, and they synergize so well together. Like we saw in the Fnatic NIP matchup, which it was literally Genos or Inara Pip as far as your first picks. Bomb King rounded out. That's something Doodle can play as well. So that each team has one more pick left before we head into Game 1.
And that'll probably be what they go for. I feel like just need a Mutu pick at this point. With the Shaolin now gone, I mean, maybe the Buck is what they go back to. Not as sincere. No flankers, just no real hard DPS drafted outside of that Buck coming through last.
And here's what we were questioning. How good is Sephi Cloud Shaolin? Because you've got Sidebait, you've got Doodle, who could flex most likely onto the Bomb King, Sive onto the Cassie. Now Sephi Cloud on the Shaolin. It was a little bit lackluster, I think, the first time we saw it. Then we, are hoping to see a little bit more this week. This would definitely be the time to show it. Let's see what they've got here with the Buck last pick as well. Send it to our casters for Game 1 here. Mousesports versus Navi. About to turn up the heat.
And Navi sure knew how to turn up the heat during the last set. I'm sure they're ready to do it again, but Mousesports were proving themselves during the last week.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see where this goes because Mousesports beat Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro take one game off Navi. If it was math, if we're going back to the last cast, then technically you would think Mousesports could find a game here. Although Navi, they're looking a little bit more like Virtus Pro's composition.
Well, don't forget, everybody, to vote for who you think is going to take the set. Is it Mousesports or is it Natis Vincier, like or heart? What is it for you today?
I'm going Navi again. I feel like that's the way to go. It's the safe bet. It's the safe play. That road's bumpy. This road's nice and smooth. I'm going to go the smooth road. The bumpy road gets you there maybe a little bit faster, or it's a little bit more fun, I guess, since it's Mousesports in this case.
But we went into the last set with certain expectations, and then Virtus.pro, despite losing the set overall, threw everybody off guard, got a victory under their belt. And I'm excited to see what Mousesports brings to the table, especially after getting to talk to NTBs and hearing what he had to say about he and the rest of the team working hard, looking for more victories under their belt. Maybe they can get some today.
I feel like this is going to be a very defining set, because one of the things Evan had said during Navi versus VP is the fact that you could see that the drafts were kind of making a little bit of a different step. They were definitely adapting to each other. Instead of playing the meta, playing what the other team wanted. Now, it feels like Natis Vincier is kind of bringing a little bit of that into this matchup, whereas Mousesports, they have a dangerous lineup to be going up against. Very solid, very good, very meta-picky. It depends on how Navi, and specifically creatives, I think, can play this.
Single front line can be a lot to deal with if you don't have a way to shut down the DPS, and with Cassie and Shaolin on their side, that's a really quick first blood from Andrew Doodle, taking down creatives who we have seen some tremendous play on this pip in the past.
Really solid positioning, being able to hit 2, maybe 3 members at a time here. NTBs does go down though, and losing your frontliner this early on, you can see the pressure from Mousesports immediately fell back. Still a little bit of damage from the side, but no intrinsic, we're pushing in.
And nonetheless, Navi, they're the first ones on the objective, 42% currently, but Mousesports have a couple people posted up on the outskirts waiting for someone to show their face. A little bit of a clip onto the Terminus. And now time for some kind of collapse.
Now all they need is the change. This is actually exactly what they want. Terminus going down. If they can get Unbelievable out of there, push him away, get rid of the Terminus, get rid of the Inara. They don't have anything standing, literal standing stones on the point. So as long as you can get rid of them, displace them, you get your positioning back. 81%, but it gets cut off. Natis Vincier having to fall back.
Yeah, NTBs was a bit of a bully right there. Forced the wall out of Inara, and everybody, just as you said, backed out of the equation. Maybe by a little bit of time. Koa's on the Shaolin.
That's Koa.
Yeah.
I thought Koa, like Koa's Genos. Cloud is the one kind of stepping away. It's just everything's going all topsy-turvy. Dread Serpent comes out. Spunky goes down. This is a really solid fight for Mouse.
Yep, a couple kills in the favor of Mousesports, despite that being an ultimate from Navi. And Mousesports get point number 1 of the game.
I feel like Jaguar Falls might not be the place Navi like going. Nice shot.
Ooh.
Koa, I'm really looking forward to this. I feel like I have literally only seen him play Genos, play healers, so seeing him step away, kind of what we saw with the front lines, being able to step up, double kill for Side-8. The damage is good, the kills are solid. Mousesports are making this a lot more interesting.
I mean, Side-8 on the Cassie, expected. NTBs on the Nando, expected. Andrew Doodle on the BK, I got you, bro. But then here, just this one switch individually might be enough to kind of shake it up, because player style does shine through the champions, even though it's obviously a very distinct kit each time. But Cloud on the Genos, and he's been showing some versatility the last weeks anyway.
I'm curious as to how this push is going to go. We saw Virtus.pro put Navi in this position before, but the defense came through and it kind of held them back. Right now, definitely seems a little bit more aggressive. A minute and a half left, and Mousesports are pushing as hard as they can. Seismic Crash did not connect with anyone there.
Through time and space, tried to make its way through. Didn't pop anybody down too low, though, just yet. Andrew Doodle throwing the in-hands, finds himself Phoenix right in his face. Unbelievable, though. Gets the kill onto NTBs.
Being able to kind of keep him healed from the back line. Unbelievable, and Phoenix are probably going to be the stars for this. Mutu has been around. I feel like he's been having an impact, but it's definitely keep it to the front lines. Make sure that they stay alive. And as long as they're still standing, it's going to be a lot harder to take a point away from them, to be able to push this payload through them. But once they go down, you saw what happened earlier around the point. Still potential for that to happen here, although 98% and Reanimate's going to be coming up soon.
The members of Navi on this defense, they're actually right here, kind of in that overarching way, which is a common holding point for the defense. Mousesports attempting to gather themselves. A lot of ultimates available to them, but Phoenix ready to throw up them hands to block off some on the sideline. And the Heat Haze has actually been popped by... Oh, wow, okay, here's a King Bomb actually coming as well. Multiple ultimates being rounded right off of the bat. see if they can get any value. One down on both sides. Currently a rampage for Andrew Doodle.
That's actually the best place to have killed off Phoenix as well. He's not near his team. He's not anywhere that he actually wants to reanimate, so they can continue, get back to the payload, get pushing one more time. 6 seconds left, but they're on here. They should get overtime. Navi Vincier really need to find this defense, and they don't have a lot to be able to find it. Maybe have to use a couple ults.
Mutu got knocked down low, but the resources of healing himself and 2 supports, that's the way to get yourself back to the top. Takes out NTBs, and that's going to be a successful defense.
Just another scenario again. You see the front line go down. Bees has to have that presence. He has to stay alive, and when you're looking at it, it's a little bit rough when you only have Genos to keep you alive. You're relying a lot on, more than likely, a card in your loadout. Whenever you have the shield up and you're below 50% health, you're healing yourself, but just hoping Sephi Cloud kind of keeps you marked, make sure that you're getting a little bit of passive healing in the fight. The minute he goes down, they lose a lot of their push.
I mean, looking back at Andrew Doodle, this was the King Bomb that we actually heard off screen and got that kill onto Unbelievable. And when you can take somebody down that's usually so difficult to burn through, follow it up with another kill, then that's what allowed them to get to that point of knocking on the front door. But just as you said, NTB's falling was a big unit for them.
I'm kind of curious as to where Creatives fits into this, because one of the things about the Pip that's perfect for Navi Vincier is that Mousesports don't have it. They don't have something to get rid of the Terminus and the Inara. Since they're going to be standing together, no Evil Mojo to eliminate both of them at the same time. I'm curious if he can have the same impact on Navi Vincier that it would have for Mousesports. So far, NTB's just getting in their face, causing a lot of damage, causing a lot of ruckus. But Navi Vincier is still up at 33%.
Same bullying effect, but he has 2 frontliners to deal with. Immortal has been popped as well. Hopping off the side! Creatives, see you later, buddies! 5-8 in Andrew Doodle going off strong. Phoenix, he's the only one around. Finally falling, though.
Since it's 1-1, Navi Vincier have one more fight. They're waiting to group up, waiting to figure out how do we approach this. Mousesports moving forward. The way they've been playing this has been phenomenal. 69% rising up and getting really good. Seismic Crash once again stunning out. I don't know if I really agree with the way that was used.
And you actually heard the King Bomb coming up on the side, repositioning himself to get these in hands out on the table. Stunned out, taken out by Phoenix. That's 93% for Mousesports, but they've got 2 gone. Dread Serpent to follow up, and even more are falling down.
Stun going to be worthwhile. Reanimate available, and this is actually the best time for Phoenix to have that slicing through if he even needed it. It's a good asset to have, but they don't seem to need it at all as they come in, grab the point, and kind of push out Mousesports.
Yeah, I mean, Mousesports was looking good at first. They went for the same strategy they did previously, shoving NTBs onto the point and bullying the rest of them, but Navi with a good fight right there at the end, able to capture. Maybe they'll have a bit better luck on this push than Mousesports did.
Being able to lock him in a corner, too. This has actually been really good for Mutu, of all people. Just, hey, fish in a barrel. I have a shotgun. I'm hitting so many targets at once. Phoenix going to be able to come in with 2, but it doesn't seem like the rest of Mousesports have much to do.
Oh, man.
I understand it, but I never get tired of seeing people jump off the map.
Well, and Andrew Doodle is kind of who ended up putting Creatives in that position when we saw it prior. So it's funny to see Andrew Doodle now have to do the same thing right off the edge.
I'm going to let you finish. But first, we got to roll out the Frog Owl real fast. Then I'll come back and we can fight one more time.
And he's back at it. Everybody's up currently. The ultimates and Seismic Crash isn't long off of getting fully charged as well. Down with the Shatter. Nice hit onto NTBs, forces out the Immortal. So here on the defense, Mousesports are actually pushed really far in.
And again, Phoenix's positioning is just such good for Navi Vincier. Just being able to get up in that aggressive positioning. You kill me, I'm going to blow up. I'm actually going to take a couple of you down with me. Now falling back a little bit. They have a minute left. It doesn't matter. 2 go down, though, one of them being their Maldamba.
There's still a whole minute to go for Navi to push this in, and they're already knocking on that front door. Mousesports really need to be able to hold this defense. I mean, they still have the capability of doing so. Separated the members of Navi. A lot of them are quite far off the bat. So being aggressive in your defensive positioning can be an aid here.
This is a very key moment as to whether we see Navi kind of pull things all the way back in their favor, or if Mousesports can keep it tied up, keep themselves maybe at an advantage. The fight has honestly been going back and forth between the 2 teams. Very strong moments for each one, but I think right now Navi, especially with the ults they have online, a little bit of an advantage. 20 seconds. All they need is to push it in.
Andrew Doodle's had some great moments on this BK. Last week on the Shaolin, just tremendous holding for his team. Gets the kill onto Phoenix. Very key, but the Reanimate has been popped over on the sideline, not in range to actually kill anybody, just to keep himself in the fight. Koa picks one up onto Mutu.
Nice bombs being able to get the feet of Spunky, blowing him up slowly but surely. Not going to find the kill, though. Bees, Koa, Andrew Doodle all go down.
Making him tap dance with those in-hands. And here's the seismic crash, circles around, gets the stun out. Cephacloud is down and out for the count after picking up a kill on his own. And TB's the only one alive. Kinda hard to hold this on your own.
Tried to get through. Unfortunately, that wall was pretty much perfectly placed, perfectly timed. You can't get through it. You can't dash around it. It's stuck in pretty much the worst spot you can be. You're watching slowly as the payload comes in and gives them a point. 3-1 now for Navi. And depending on how this goes, they have a very good chance of winning it right here. I mean, double front line and holding on to the Reanimate. Phoenix hasn't had to use that just yet. So if things do get maybe precarious for them, he's always going to be able to come back.
That was an unbelievable triple kill on the Inara.
But
yeah, there you go. There was a lot of work put in by the rest of the team, though, of course, as well, that he was able to follow up on. But very good eyes to kind of find those targets that are right on the cusp of defeat, take them out of the equation, which is what allowed them to finish that off.
And honestly, you're kind of seeing a showcase. I feel like Inara is very well highlighted. I mean, she is a very defensive champion, but one of the things about players like Unbelievable and the way he's been able to play it, gets aggressive with it. It's like, yeah, I'm still defending. I'm still just focusing on the objective, whether it be the payload or the point. But don't underestimate the damage I have. I can still kill you if you give me the opportunity.
And that's a good place to be in, taking a quick pause before we hop into it. But it's currently 1-3 in the favor of Navi, which means comeback mechanic is available to Mousesports. And if you look at the last capture, they made it fairly close. It was that last fight that ended up going in the favor of Navi.
And so far, the first initial skirmish, I want to say, of each point has kind of gone their way. They've been able to push out Navi, kind of keep them corralled away, control them somehow. But the question is whether or not the kills are going to be able to go in their favor. I mean, Bees just now gets on the point. He's already half health.
72% still ongoing. And I mean, this is going to be really difficult for Mousesports, having to back off a little bit. Unbelievable into the corner, but healed back up with the help of his support. And there's a Dread Serpent thrown out as well.
Koa, Side-Bait going to be able to pick up actually 3 altogether. Koa finding Spunky at the tail end, but the one still standing, it's going to be Phoenix. He's the one I think I'm the most worried about overall. Going low, going down pretty soon here. This might actually be a pretty big fight for Mouse.
Throws up the in-hands. Mousesports, 89%. This is actually looking pretty good for them. Nice on side 8 to actually push back Mutu so he couldn't make himself anywhere near that point.
The control has been solid. Mousesports being able to do this, and Andrew Doodle, I mean, he has the King Bomb, the bombs throwing, and finding their mark pretty often. He's a quintessential part of Mousesports right now, being able to kind of keep them locked down. And I like the shift. I mean, Koa, like I said, known mainly for that Genos. I like seeing him on the Shaolin. I feel like it's making just enough of a difference. It's a big dynamic change. And so far, his arrows have been finding their home.
Yeah, I love it, and it just shows a lot of the work from Mousesports, but the Seismic Crash actually reaches around the corner for the stun. Luckily for Mousesports, able to back off. Koa finding himself safe once more, healed back up to the top. Phoenix did get a pick onto side 8, and here's another one as Koa falls. So maybe Navi can get a bit more aggressive, just poking him down.
All right, might be making the game a little longer. Really solid defense. Bees opting into the choice that is really necessary. You don't want to get staggered. You stand there, Navi are going to wait. They're just going to wait and wait and wait. You can see his cooldown timer. Now he's respawned, and he's going to be able to catch up to his team in no time because he does have Master Riding, so not too far behind the rest of the squad, whereas otherwise, he'd still be waiting.
Yeah, so going into the rest of this push, a bit over a minute to go. At about the 50% mark. Made it past one of the first initial bigger choke points. Navi grouped together, setting up their defenses nice and strong. Andrew Doodle starting to break that void just a tad as Mousesports start to aggress on forward.
Heat Haze going to be popped. Koa looking to get aggressive. Nice damage and nice kills so far. Actually going so far as to be right outside of Navi's door. 40 seconds left. 1 arrow's all it takes, and Koa finds it.
There you go. That's a team wipe right there. I mean, yeah, you got Maldamba popping back up, and here's another one, but still enough time for Mousesports to go right outside the spawn doors And the payload's moving all the while.
And doing the best they can to try and lock him in, but you can see Navi, they're just like, fuck it, we're going to take the damage and continue moving forward. They're not going to shroud at all. And as long as they can keep going, they're not worried.
Unbelievable's put himself right in front of the objective, but that doesn't matter. That's a push for Mousesports. And this is going to come down to 1 point.
Moving forward, everything fully in control. I really like that Mutu, Unbelievable, are perfectly happy going into the Master Riding, coming in, getting into the fight a little bit earlier. For Unbelievable, that's been why he's set up. That's pretty much where Navi have been getting that initial tick. For Mutu, that is maybe the position that he needs to get rid of Cybate, to get rid of Koa.
11, 6, and 10 is Koa. 14, 4, and 7, Andrew Doodle.
5, 4.
The opposite end. Man, I mean, I'm a little shaken off by your language core, but you know, I have to regather
That was
myself.
I was quoting exactly what Navi were going to say. Okay, that's exactly the words
You
that
had
would have
the
come out of their
insight
mouth.
into their comms.
Yeah.
And we're just reeling into the audience. That's transparency for you. But 24% so far for Navi. Mousesports taking a bit of time. Here's the ultimate from Unbelievable. Gets the stun from afar. And there is your Dread Serpent to block it all off. The Immortal to answer through time and space. Not going to be able to blast through that supportive ultimate. And there's a wall pushing away.
Really solid seismic crash to be able to keep the control, and honestly with the positioning, the standing, the shots, keeping Cybate and Koa from being able to apply the damage. Andrew Doodle on the side looking for these hits, but Unbelievable again, being a little bit more aggressive than the Inara. Not afraid to leave the point and doing whatever he can, but they're both really low in a corner.
Yep, trying to just kind of get everybody corralled in this separate area, a rampage going in the favor of Mousesports, but that's actually 2 down on the side of Mousesports, 1 on the side of Navi. Here's your King Bomb getting riled up, gets the stun onto Phoenix, 1 last blast, reanimate to boot, but you back around that wall for protection. Andrew Doodle's low.
The damage coming out from him and Koa is really solid. Creative, so they can get this kill is going to make a difference. 99%, but not as Vincier pushed away. Navi can't close it out just yet. And they don't have the fight. That reanimate, not getting a kill. Phoenix staying alive is big, but really needed something a little bit more impactful to try and take this and make the game theirs immediately.
Oh, lordy, that was cutting it close, because 99%, the overtime ticks on down. Mousesports taking a bit of control in this moment, and once more, overtime starts back up. Mutu getting a kill, another Dread Serpent off in the side, but 2 have fallen on the side of Mousesports.
Exactly what they need. Bees has no healer, no way to stay alive other than the shield. Once it's gone, he's gone. Navi happy.
Oh, that was so tight, though. As Mousesports, you gotta feel a little bit of happiness in the sense that, yeah, we pushed that far. Maybe we have a chance in the set, but then at the same time, oh, we were right there.
I mean,
we were right there.
Keeping it close, I think maybe showing a little bit of fault, because that's now twice on Jaguar Falls. And Navi have been a little bit too close for things to go down for them, but they're being able to fight back at the tail end. Again, a couple of moments where maybe if it had gone just slightly different, it would have been easier for them, but definitely slipping very carefully through their hands until they could get that solid grip.
I mean, things are getting tight and unpredictable here in the EU region of the PPL. So, Desk, why don't you go ahead and break down game number 1?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, there's so much to talk about there. I was a big fan of the fact that Mousesports really took it to Navi in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Koa Shaolin looked great, and that's the biggest role swap that we've seen here from week to week. We know he has, a bit of a reputation, frankly, for playing some DPS characters, but Cephalic Cloud coming from Virtus Pro, really only playing frontline. Didn't blow anyone's socks off, I don't think, when playing DPS in the previous week, but just so close, almost there, Mousesports, just losing that one out. And that's the onus, right? When you're running, whether it's triple frontline, double frontline, quadra frontline, the team with more frontlines is just trying to survive on the point. And Nautilus Vincier did that just a little bit too good. Andrew Doodle, man, he did some work in that final fight.
I mean, he was amazing, and he was so flawless. The only thing to me that positionally was the problem was he kept hiding on the retake when they were coming back in that little dark room, and his Poppy Bomb could not get him away fast enough from Phoenix crushing him. He dies twice the exact same way. Phoenix just crushing him, stunning him in that little dark room, 2 swings, and he's gone, and he is the key to this fight. He's the key to this team. He's playing lights out right now. His mechanical skill on Bomb King, some of the best I've seen this year in the PPL.
Yeah.
And if he continues this, I mean, Mousesports they're going to be a team you cannot just sleep through when they show up on your schedule.
They're right there. I mean, say what you will about this first split. The second split here for Europe is looking like it could shape up to be an extremely competitive one, and one that really it's almost all eyes on NIP to figure their roster out now, because it looks like Mousesports and VP have really started to come together.
And maybe the other tying knot, the key that's been between both of them is the Navi, right? Navi look really not great on Jaguar Falls. I don't care who they're playing. They really not looking good here, or like they have a plan.
Yeah.
So, maybe there's something to that. I think they make a good call letting the 3-2, not trying to use ultimates there, letting it go 3-3, trusting in that final point fight, and it does pay off for them. They lose the early one, but they come back just in time as we head into game number 2, and those drafts very, very shortly in the bands, of course, for the maps, the picks, all the good stuff for you guys.
The P's and B's, the peanut butter and jellies now. A very similar map, closest two maps, I think, comparatively, Jaguar Falls and Brightmarsh. So I'll be curious to see if Navi run for a similar composition. They run a fair amount of 3 DPS, and they look damn good doing it. So slowing it down, I mean, these are the maps you want to do it on, but will they continue to do that after having their closest calls and frankly, a loss on Jaguar Falls in doing so?
That's a good question.
They got rid of the Bomb King, and that's definitely a W.
Yeah, that's good. But Andrew Doodle, he could play Eevee. I mean, he showed that he was able to do that pretty well. And this is a map you could see Eevee on. Torvald take it for Navi. Trying it one more time. Didn't work well the first time.
Has just, no changes, no balance changes to it, but definitely people, I think, maybe just getting used to that combination.
Yep.
Could still see it come through, though. Genos, half the puzzle solved for Mousesports. And Xin, not a character that they're identifying super hard with, but before this season, no one really was. Shaolin, though, that's a big pick. It was for Navi and Virtus Pro, and Andrew Doodle with Bomb King banned out. I mean, this seems like the natural next step for him.
Yeah, Shaolin could pick up, can go to basically anyone on that team. Saibate, Andrew Doodle, Koa. Now that Koa's playing that, Sevi Cloud on the Genos. Pretty comfortable swap if you're going to play support, go from that frontline role and that DPS role the week before, and now being on a champion that's pretty much kind of the most DPS support champion you could probably pick up in the realm.
That's true. That could be a more natural fit for him. And that's a big question. Is like, where else is this roster going to go? You don't exactly know where Koa could fit. With 2 supports, though, for Mousesports, you have to assume Koa's probably going to be playing one of them. Sevi Cloud on the pip is something I wouldn't be blown away to see.
I can see that.
So I think he could slot into that fairly simply. NTB's got to give this man credit where credit's due. They're running a lot of frontline, a lot of single frontline against some of the best in the damn world and making it look good, keeping his team together.
He really did a lot with that, Fernando, and there was a lot to do, and he did a lot. And that was something I did notice. I wanted to give him a shout-out last game, too, because I did enjoy the way he was running that, really treading the line, very, very much so, finding the balance between defensiveness and offensiveness in the clutch moments, which you don't often see with Fernando. It's actually very rare. Maeve taken here for Navi. This should be creatives on that Maeve. And he was so good on it in the Paladins World Championship in January.
He's one that's definitely identified. Him and Bugsy are 2 guys that have kind of consistently run this in Europe, and I think this is a really good pick for them there. Shutting down NTB is going to make his job that much harder running that single front line. Running out here these days. Leon will be the final pick for Mouse. You assume that's probably got to be Saib.
Yeah, probably going to be Saib, and then you have, I guess, Koa still on the Shaolin. I mean, you might even see Andrew Doodle here on this pip, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, that's part of the fun and part of the benefit of it. I think Navi might be asking themselves some of these questions as well. Of course, maybe scrimming in the leading week up. I doubt they're scrimming each other leading up to a matchup in this weekend, right? So Navi could be just as taken aback and have just as many questions about this lineup as we do.
All right, well, let's send it to our casters here for Game 2. Navi leading it over Mousesports 1-0.
It is time for game number 2. Game number 1 obviously got us pretty excited in some moments, and I'm ready to get that excited again.
Yeah, I went washed my mouth out with soap, made sure nothing happened.
We have new bathrooms over there that
they
are perfect
really
for
nice.
that. So
anyway.
Yeah, to anybody, if you haven't or need extra motivation to try and work yourself in a place to come to the land, then we got a whole pretty studio and everything set up for you. But these 2 teams duking it out right now. Mousesports came so close in game number 1. And maybe they can come through in game number 2, being that they showed a lot of potential, especially switching and flexing their players.
And this is a really interesting lineup, I want to say, for both of these squads, just because going into it, you have 2 flanks on one side, although Xin kind of, I want to say, rides that line between being a flank and being just kind of DPS standing in the back and kind of throwing damage. Whereas on the other side, I feel like Mouse don't have much to deal with it. They don't have much to kind of get around Navi, but they do have a lot of just upfront, we are going to hit you hard damage. Koa, again, kind of bouncing back onto that Shaolin. I like the call.
Phoenix is back on the Torvald. Game number 1 of the last set didn't go that great, but I think they were surprised by how well Virtus Pro was performing. Here on this map, some particular places that you can really take advantage of that Hyper Beam. Koa's back on the Shaolin. Some good stuff from him during the last game. Cloud on this Genos once more as well. And Andrew Doodle still getting to go with that blaster play, basically.
Nice shield and a lot of immediate damage from both of these squads, but first blood, Koa getting a little bit too aggressive, goes down, and that gives Navi pretty much the green light, go forward. Mutu, though, may have misread it.
2 down on both sides, make that 3 for Mousesports, so put on the back foot just a tad. Cloud going to pedal it towards some safety in the meantime. And Andrew Doodle's taking that one opportunity of high ground kind of on Bright Marsh that you can plant yourself on there to try and get that vantage point. Mutu is back on this pick right here with the mate.
And this is where the high ground gets maybe a little bit more dangerous for you. I mean, you're paying attention to what's happening on the ground. Try to keep the healing, try to keep the blasting. There's a Mave right around the corner. You take one misstep, all of that damage is going to find its way onto you. 2,200 health is not enough to really keep you running, especially when Mave does decide that you're going to be the target. So really up in the air.
96% for Navi, 99. Overtime does set in, but Mousesports, all they've got is a Pip and a Shaolin. Make that just a Pip. And that's not enough to be able to go ahead and contest a point like that.
Showcasing pretty much exactly what they need. Sit down the Inara on the point, hold on to it. Bright Marsh, it's a lot easier to keep people locked out than it is having to worry about it on some of the other maps. So at that point, let's just let them keep fighting over there on the side. Just keep engaging as much as you want. Whatever you get, couple kills, doesn't matter, 100%.
Creatives is on the Zen, and some nice bubbles coming out from Phoenix on this Torvald. Does get taken out by Cybe 8, though. So Mutu is going to take the reins once more. Some cleanup potential right here. 1 shot, 2 shot. Cybe 8, Koa both fall to the ground before Mutu is eliminated. A Seismic Crush and a Dread Serpent activated by these players. Pip's in a bit of trouble.
Unbelievable, getting very aggressive. And honestly, they need it. Pip, the only one left standing, falls back into the base. B's going to be a little bit behind everybody else, and that raises the question, will anyone really be able to jump down and stop this the way they want to? Everyone a little bit too squishy to try and hold up onto it, and you're seeing kind of the difference. Single front line, you have a lot of damage, but your damage needs to be on the right targets, and so far, they're slowly finding out where they need to aim that.
Yeah, able to break through that rock just a bit on Unbelievable, so Payload taking a little bit of a stance on its own. But nonetheless, the members of Navi are ready to rotate and actually trying to collapse upon the members of Mousesports.
Depending on where they take this fight, they could potentially get a couple picks before anybody else on Mousesports is able to reply. It's one of those downsides that you need to be grouped up, but at the same time, you don't want to be too close to each other. With the way things are going, they're all in one small area. Immortal going to be used as well as the Heat Haze.
It's both of those popped on the side of Mousesports and Navi trying to find their entrance, take 2 down. Creatives and Mutu both finding them. Creatives, he's looking for more. Billows into safety. There's some smacks from Mutu, man. Oh, all of that coming out for a team wipe.
I think this Mave was the right call coming in. I mean, you're going back. The Torvald was, I think, the big question mark in game number 1 against Virtus Pro. When it came through at the end of it, we were sitting there like, Phoenix, that didn't feel quite right. But like everything that just happened didn't quite make that big difference. Here, you have the Zen Creatives as well as Mutu on the Mave, keeping things going for them. Creatives did not stop. I think it was a double-double. 4 kills for himself, and just being able to kind of trade that off with the damage they have everywhere else. It's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
6-1-3, 5-3-5. I mean, Mutu and Creatives, the weight of the damage is on them, and you can see that they're using their mobility to the fullest potential too, because that's the benefit of bringing the flanks is, yes, there's some real calculation and some complexity that goes with their kits, but they're able to kind of go and find those picks onto the enemy line that may not be reachable in some other cases. And Navi, once again, heading to the objective.
And in a lot of cases, you're seeing Nautisons here doing pretty much exactly what Virtus Pro needed to do in their set, where you have someone stepping up, double kill with the Hyper being right there. Mutu going to be jumping in the air, 369 health, but he has not a worry in the world. His team's there to save him. The shots are good. Mouse You wouldn't believe it. They were actually right there fighting just a second ago.
Unbelievable. 11 getting these last shots. Another double kill for Creative. So without your frontliner around on Mousesports, NTB's is going to take a bit before he can get back into the fight. And this is at 96%. That's going to be a capture because he just took down a couple key members, so anybody that was up on Mousesports couldn't really actually aggress forward with any safety.
Nice shot from Koa, looking for a defense now at this point. 3-0 as Navi are just rolling through this map with what looks like ease. It's definitely not as easy as it's going, but the way they're playing this, the way that Mousesports are just falling like dominoes, they have no big worries. They're just trying to say, where do we take this engagement? Did we lose someone? Let's fall back, rethink it, reapply, re-come in. And with that, Mousesports haven't really had the ability to figure out what exactly is happening.
And then they're getting some good moments, taking out healing and such, but Mutu gets the kill onto NTBs once again. Delayed damage to take down Phoenix, so it's a 1-for-1 trade. But a whole minute 40 to go on this push, so Mousesports, they either got to keep staggering like this or try to get a really good team fight going to delay this even more.
One of the roughest positions to be in, I would say right now, is to be Andrew Doodle, just because with the way things have been going, Pip is great against double, triple frontline. Evil Mojo, phenomenal at being able to help take him down really fast. His damage, blast shots, all spreading around. They haven't been grouped up enough for him to really apply that. The way that Navi are approaching the Pip, they're keeping themselves spread out, and Creative's very low, but a shield coming through. Again, no one going to be able to kind of make that, but Cephacloud, Andrew Doodle finally finding their flow.
About a minute to go. Mutu's found himself as a target onto Koa. You're on a whole different road, but I'm going to target you the same no matter what. But so far, a trade back and forth. Mousesports find the support once again, and without Spunky for the meantime, by a little time, but nonetheless, it's about 40 seconds.
Mutu is playing with fire. Zin's actually playing with fire, but Mutu keeps... I'm at 300 health. I'll poke once, see what happens, see if I can get some damage down. Gets a little bit too close for comfort to death, and then gets risen once again as it goes. Seismic Crash coming down, looking for a stun. Only finds Andrew Doodle. The main thing is get that payload moving. They only have 20 seconds left.
Got stunned out for himself for a second and actually burned down low. Andrew Doodle back into the fight, full HP from this window, getting the shots onto the enemies. It looks like gonna find one. There you go. Creative's taken out of the equation. 10 seconds to go. Maybe there's some additional follow-up. Looking to collapse upon Phoenix. And there you go. Another kill, but Mutu gets one too.
Overtime going to be clicked as Mutu does go in. Gets it. Triple kill picked up for him as he's getting aggressive. And now looking to make a difference. Goes down, but Creatives is back. The team has recuperated.
Yeah, Mutu falls, but look what an impact he had beforehand. That's just one down for Navi. And Mousesports have been dropping like flies in that interaction. But overtime, you can't rely on that for too long. Unbelievable, actually staying pretty close to the payload because he knows what he has to do with this push. Heat Haze activated by Koa, looking to find some targets, and here you go with the Midnight as well to change that a bit. Successful defense because of the combination of the Dread Serpent and the Midnight.
Very close. Little too close of a shave. They nicked themselves a few times there on Mousesports. A lot of ults dumped at the tail end of that fight. The only thing they have now is the alignment. Cybate has to have a big impact. You actually get to see this here. We saw it from top. Now you get to see it from his. 3 people hit, 2 people off the edge of the map, 1 right into the room, which honestly, that was probably just a setup to kind of theme the rest of that round. The way they played. Very, very solid from Navi. And they have that Hyper Beam again. The potential still exists.
Yeah, I mean, that's there. And that was just crazy right there at the end. I mean, so many ultimates being popped and stuff across the board that it was difficult to see exactly whose favor it would fall in. But nonetheless, we're at 3-1 currently.
Shots already going off. A nice stun, almost killing off Phoenix immediately. And that is the way Mousesports needed to approach this. Going to be able to get that first kill. That's the best setup they could have had.
Navi 36% to their name, though. I mean, they've gotten the captures thus far. They just need to get one more. So Mousesports following the momentum potentially. I mean, they know that some of those ultimates were popped previously at the end of the last round, and maybe they can kind of work around with that, but they themselves only have one available.
And with Phoenix back, though, that's definitely going to be the control they need. I mean, you hit 99%, Hyper Beam's going to keep them off. That's really what they're looking for. Inara, unbelievable on their Seismic Crash. Doesn't find any big stuns, but they're doing what they need to. Whirl right into the damage. Cybate's gone.
TBs ends up finding Creatives, though, so that's 2 down on one side, 1 on the other. Creatives nonetheless 12, 5, and 6, 99% for Navi. And overtime has set in. Mutu finding a little bit of a duel on the sideline, manages to get the last hit despite being low himself. And Navi, 4-1 victory in game number 2.
Exactly what they needed to do. Anara, go stand on the point, have fun. We don't really need you for the fight. Anything that does happen, Impact, that's going to be great, but the rest of us got it. The Shield's keeping all the flanks alive. Mutu playing phenomenally. Creatives playing phenomenally. There was not much Mousesports could do in the answer. They needed to take down like 5 different targets every single time, and it's hard to get a team wipe.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Mutu was able to get triple kills here, double kills there, and, I mean, Creatives doing the same thing. But nonetheless, that's going to make it for game number 2. Currently 2-0 in the series for Navi. Desk, what did you think?
Well, clearly Navi seemed to bounce back in maps number 2, and it just, again, goes to say, do they just have that bad of a Jaguar Falls? Do they just start getting going when you play anywhere else but that?
Well, there's some seriously superstar performances starting to catch fire. Mutu kind of caught us off guard. You know, Creatives typically will play that on maps like the Serpent Beach is what comes to mind, but just the in-hand, the mechanical prowess from Mutu is something that simply can't be overstated. He was making plays.
You mean the mechanical prowl?
The board, wow. Next tier punch,
Vox?
next tier play.
Yeah.
Vox is turning over in his grave somewhere across the ocean. This play comes through, sneaks in the back line, finds 3 to start the overtime. That doesn't end up in a conversion, but what a play it was nonetheless there. And what he does that is so impressive to me is he pulls a slash line that's rivaling Creatives without 90% of the Torvald bubbles. I think that's a luxury that Creatives was working with.
Yeah.
That sort of makes that a reality and a possibility. The extra damage, the extra health. Mutu's doing that on his own.
1105. That's the number a field study bubble plus a last swing of Yomi's in counts for. It's half most Damage Champions health right there.
Yeah.
One swing. And they were definitely taking advantage of that. You know, Phoenix had a couple of nice moments on that Torvald.
Oh, yeah.
I think Navi are doing something that's smart here is trying to make the Torvald work when it's given up. There's a lot of drafts that are letting him go. And they're saying, you know, let's really get back to where this guy is good and coordinating around it. And it is working.
It absolutely is. It's still bonus
It's
damage.
working.
It's twice as much as Luminary is going to provide. Still provides damage mitigation, not through healing, but through that 2,000 additional health. And on a character like Xin, it covers what is already a very small gap in terms of vulnerability. Phoenix doing a great job with that Torvald, and that's something that they didn't have. They've had this once earlier, but all they had to do with it was Mutu's buck on that Jaguar Falls. They never found a ton of footing, but with this Xin, it's a character that I think made it much more comfortable. Creatives was very comfortable diving into the back line with it. Mutu was very comfortable not operating with it, but having 2 different ways, 2 different DPS hyper carries, win conditions in those team fights was something that worked very well with that Torvald, and I'm happy that we saw Not As Sincere go back to it right now. It kind of sucks to see something like a Torvald with a 96% ban rate to come in, not do well, and then just never see it again.
I mean, it's very demoralizing. It also makes you think, what were we banning him out for in the first place? You know, or should we have stopped banning him out? You know, maybe 2 months ago instead of for the entirety of this 4-month spree. You know, you never know. But heading into the next game, it's going to be a decider match. Mousesports still yet to get that win, although so close in game 1. Had their moments in game 2. Still not having their ultimate win here. And that is less than Virtus Pro can say this far. At least this week.
For sure, Virtus Pro with the better showing against Not As Sincere. Bans here, Eevee and Kinessa from Mousesports. And Kinessa is something we haven't seen from Mutu yet. I'm surprised we didn't see it on Stone Keep because he was ruthless with this pick in the previous week. But Mousesports can be feeling that pain. They don't want to even go down that road. They don't want to consider it as a possibility. But on the same note, on the other side of the coin, they ran this on Serpent Beach last week, and Sidebait looked pretty damn good on it.
Yeah, they have it opens up Bomb King conversations. Zen and Genos could be grabbed as well. You can also take Zen and Torvald. That worked for Navi. Why not? So they're going to go right back to it. And then obviously the Bomb King conversation with the Genos, if you would like to have it. The question is, if you don't take it, you do give it to Navi, and That's something we haven't seen. Zen, Torvald, and Genos. We haven't seen those guys together actually at all in the PPL.
That could be pretty wild, and that's a lot of lockdown too. You know, when you combine the Void Grip with the silence from Torvald, there's actually a lot there in terms of crowd control. That's non-ultimate. That's like, damn, I think we got to pick a Brazilians in a matchup like this. And Torvald, DPS still pretty good. So like when someone's Void Gripped in front of him, and Torvald is going to put the pain in.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to miss. Someone's just sitting there. Lifted
gumballing you
mid-air as well. Good counter to Torvald, already not very mobile. Just expose him. He likes to get around those corners, use his shield, and just be a little bit tankier than you can kill instantly and then get some heals back up from his healer. This time it'll be Moldamba taking that role. And we've also got the Bomb King who, you know, as we mentioned, a great pick for Andrew Doodle and obviously a great pick here for Mousesports to get some control back in. One of the things that Torvald will not be able to as easily avoid, or Nara really, if the Grumpy Bomb goes onto the point.
Yeah, and can just easily chunk into those two targets. And Bomb King has a decent matchup against Zen because he can play around the counter so effectively. Zen can almost get caught with his pants down in a way because once it goes up, you can't cancel Billy, you can't cancel counter. And if Bomb King's just throwing bombs over the top of your head, if they're not making connections with the front of your model, you can't do anything. You're almost just a sitting duck.
Well, they've got a Volpine here. He'll be jumping. He won't be sitting. But let's see what they've got to say about game number 3 here. Mousesports, Navi. Navi can close it out with a win in this one.
Yeah, if Mousesports want to keep themselves in it, they have to get the victory here.
There's a lot on the line, and they go with a pretty good composition. But again, all three of them have been very solid. It's just been the fact that Navi don't give them a chance to actually showcase what it can do.
And a lot of strong picks to them as well. So going into this last map, it should be interesting. I would love to see Mousesports put some of that fire in like they did in game number 1. But if this kind of follows suit also of the series we watched previously, where Navi, they learned their lesson after that first. And even though it wasn't a victory in the side of Mousesports, they did still push it really far. So it's still kind of that same sentiment.
This is going to be an interesting map, I think, to take it in. Because I feel like it's a little bit harder to do what they just did on Bright Marsh on Serpent Beach. It's going to be a little bit harder to stay spread out. It's going to be a little bit harder to make it so that Pip doesn't blow them up.
Right. You don't want him doing none of that, but it's going to be Koa on the Pip. Andrew Doodle on the BK, of course. Sevacloud sticking to this Genos.
I'm intrigued with the way they've been changing things up. I feel like Koa, of all the players, has been the one that has shaken it up the most. But I'm excited to see if it can actually come to fruition, show off exactly what Pip can do and what Mousesports have in them. Because it's a lot more than what we've been able to see. And as other teams have been rebuilding, I feel like they are just on in that phase as well.
Immediate clashing on the side. NTBs tried to stay in it as long as possible, but nonetheless got taken down by Mutu. Here's some more action in that same corridor. And Phoenix did fall to Andrew Doodle, so maybe a little opportunity to even the odds.
Being able to dance once again, unbelievable. Alone on the point, which is just fine for him. He does not mind when no one decides to look at him. Finally getting pushed out a little bit, but 30% picked up. And in these fights, in these skirmishes, that's what you need. Now being able to take down NTBs and maybe losing a couple members of your own, but you still have your front line so you can go in and plant themselves.
And even though Creatives was losing half HP, still managed to get the kill. And Andrew Doodle, though, he's back on this comfort pick. Picked up another one on Mutu, looking for another one onto Phoenix. That's a double kill so far. Can he continue with the action? All the meanwhile, Navi 63% onto the objective, but 3 of them have fallen.
I will admit an impressive, while aggressive Evil Mojo coming down, Pip, making sure that Unbelievable on this Inara will not be able to stand any longer than they need them to the point where they can get on the point, grab it, hold it for a little bit, and just cause a little bit of pause so that Navi aren't dominating 66% and rising.
Yeah, forced to backpedal as well for Koa. And Navi, they're back in the equation. They have spawned and repositioned themselves. So Mousesports, in the meantime, they've made pretty far with their percentage. And Unbelievable's making his way back through. Gets blasted to the pass, though. Cybe 8 with that kill. King Bomb activated, finds his rotation, gets the stun onto Phoenix, and throwing out those in-hands, but the shield is popped up. Not enough to keep him alive.
2 bombs pop, blown up out of there, 99% and a capture.
Hey.
Mousesports happy, walking away, and even though they used a few ults to be able to get that, they're happy being able to push it, and they have a charge time now. They can relax a little bit, get that back, and even if they don't push it, we're seeing, again, Not a Sincere not have that iron grip.
I mean, those ults got value, and Andrew Doodle We knew that he was going to be strong on this BK going into it as he gets another one onto creatives, but the King Bomb that he used, just getting the double kill immediately before that, that all coincided for that first point victory.
I like the angle when Andrew is kind of approaching this one. It's one of those things we've seen a lot of fights happen on the other side of Serpent Beach, so showcasing that you can get up onto that balcony, try to get around the line, and utilize Bomb King Poppy Bombs where maybe they weren't seen before. Creatives gets aggressive, forced to billow away, but really solid from Mousesports kind of collapsing in on them.
Oh, Cybate almost gets chunked down. Creatives gripped up into the air though, and NTV's able to finish that off, so great crowd control to eliminate that threat, and now still a bit under a minute and a half for Mousesports to push this. You see the streaks going strong for them too. An aggressive positioning to boot. Unbelievable. It's really hard to find any kind of safety when there's arrows hitting you right in the side.
Cybate right now pretty much sitting right at home where he wants to be. Hyper Beam, but the dash coming through does save it, so he stays alive, and Cybate's in Leanne's corner, being able to get a lot of damage there, spreading the attention. Navi have 3 members down right now. The respawn timers really need to work hard.
Throwing up the wall is a little bit of protection, but that can only save you for so long. NTB's with the ultimate. Here's the seismic crash right into the face of Pip. Koa blasted away. And that's going to be a double kill for Unbelievable. Not his first of this set.
Had he had a little bit of a better angle, might have been able to find a triple. But you can see pretty much everyone on Mouse having to fall back. There's that knockup, not finding the jump he wanted. But either way, again, having a toaster, popping him up.
Yeah, I don't have my toaster here. I never brought it from Illinois, so I haven't been able to. But I was never a toaster strudel person in the first place, just more of a regular toast person. We didn't have that in my house.
Had a lot of Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, or Pop-Tarts. We didn't have either of those, sadly. I wish. I always think of Pop-Tart when I see Inara doing that, but nonetheless, I mean, Wall is still helpful to at least force some of the members of Mousesports away, but I think they're going to go ahead and try and touch on this to keep it going.
Overtime will come through. Bees is standing on it, but Bees is kind of in a spot to get pincered. That was a big hit from Creatives, and the rest of the team, they can't withstand that kind of damage for much longer than a second.
That's going to be a defense. You know, there is no Immortal there. He used it previously in that last big fight that we saw. So now going into the next one, Navi managing to hold it down in the end.
A lot of streaks burning for him as well. Mutu, the only one without it, but the way they've been playing, they're keeping things going. Koa has opted not into Kronos, not trying to get the heal up that often, not into any aggression, any of the red items that you'd see. No Cauterize, no Wrecker. He is going strictly for morale boost. He wants this evil mojo up as often as possible, and I actually really like this kind of style of play. It is unbelievable. Phoenix, we are just going to kill you anytime I get the chance. We'll get a good percent charge back off of it on that, and then a couple more shots, we're back at 100%. I can continue doing that, and it's trying to kind of snowball against what Navi have been able to accrue.
Evil Mojo's already such a fast-charging ultimate, too, so with this, it's helping it even more. Once again, clashing on the side, popped away. Mousesports 9% onto the objective. Mutu wanting to find a couple picks before things get too crazy, but there's a Dread Serpent right where all the action was coming. Andrew Doodle, a little too vulnerable. Creatives just smacking him down.
Just swinging like it's nothing, throwing flames all around, burning members of Mousesports down, and he's getting aggressive with it as well. Doesn't even need to hit them all. As long as his presence is known, they're a little bit too timid to try and fight into it. They have to regroup, but not as Sincere are already at 50%.
And I mean, that's a good place to be. 27% on the opposite end, but Navi regaining control of that objective. I mean, it's one of those situations where, yeah, Mousesports got it early on, but I don't think Navi was really sweating too much about it. They're waiting for their chance to make it through and use their ultimates to ensure they had that opportunity. And because of that, they get the capture.
Control and not too much of a fight, honestly. They get one, and then they just slowly check you off the mark every single time. Kill you 1, 2, 3. And honestly, still looking to try and make a little bit of a run like that. Really solid shots. Mutu getting aggressive, but the shielding from Phoenix has allowed them to just get so far ahead and not get punished.
And so many members of Navi are just directly right here being aggressive, moving with the payload. Unbelievable gets a kill. Phoenix gets a kill. Mutu's looking for 1. There's 4 down. Cybate, where are you going to be, buddy? You're the last one they're looking for. But Andrew Doodle's actually spawned back up and should be there. No time. There you go.
The only analogy I can think of for this, it sounds really dumb in my head, so it's going to sound worse when I say it, but it is Mousesports are just a batch of cookies fresh out of the oven. Not Sincere are hungry children who are just every single person's getting one and they are disappearing quick. They are not able to fight right now. This payload's right there, a minute and a half left. And it doesn't look like there's going to be much contest. Bees jumps down, but the damage is still in favor of Navi.
2 down on the side of Mousesports, and Navi, once again, streaks flying high. Here's the heals coming from Spunky from afar. Immortal pop once more, but it's going to expire, and he is immediately on top of that gourd, and there's your push from Navi. So it's 3-1.
I like the way Spunky played that. Of all the members that were there, everyone's doing their job. Spunky is simultaneously healing and just throwing damage at Bees as much as he can. Make sure once that Immortal's gone, you will not be living much longer. And pretty much showcasing exactly that as it does come through, being able to kind of switch things up. 3-1 once again. Navi with that 2-0 lead are looking like they might close it out here.
Another case for Mousesports. It was great. They got that first capture. They pushed it pretty far, but Navi kicked it into high gear. Man, I'm mad at you, Gore. I want cookies now. I'm going to be pissed about it, but hey, I still love you, buddy.
If it makes you feel better, I feel like I can allude to something I've said personally. That Mousesports, again, deceptively losing. It's really, really solid play from them, but it's once again against Navi where it's just, you can't showcase how good you are because these players are just that next level of caliber. And Mousesports don't really get to showcase it. Here, you've seen a lot more than that initial week, but either way, it's still coming down to the fact that Navi have much better control of this map.
Mousesports is still in it. They're keeping themselves safe. You saw how many astral marks could be out at one time from Genos, but Creatives nonetheless rotating around. Unbelievable. Again, planting himself onto the objective. So somebody from Mousesports needs to make it. Their spike into the air, drops back down onto the ground, swings away at Koa, and Creatives, he is indeed hungry for some cookies.
Now the timing that you get on this point is really important. 93%, it's a pretty big number when it comes down to the fact that they only need to stand on there for a couple more ticks. You lose Andrew Doodle, you lose Sephi Cloud, and you lose Bees. What do you have?
99% overtime setting on in. Shield thrown onto Creatives as well, but now he's been healed back up. Doesn't even need it through time and space. Last attempted effort, but Navi take home the victory.
Could have got a lot of damage. Could have even found some kills at the end there if it had lasted a little longer, but just waiting a little bit too long to jump onto that point for the tail end. 93% is not the number that you want to finally contest. You want to stop it at the latest, maybe in the 70s, maybe early 80s, but letting Navi just sit on the point forever. Every single point fight, too, really just kind of said, okay, we're fighting your battle.
Yeah, because, I mean, you looked at the round previously, and there was someone where Mousesports had rotated around, and Navi kind of let that fall through a little bit, but they knew where their limits were. They were very aware of what was happening, and then said, okay, now it's time to go get a couple of picks, and then send Unbelievable onto the point. In this case, they actually went pretty aggressively right off the start during that last capture, and then there was not really an opening for Mousesports to come through.
And I feel like what we're seeing, again, Mousesports still showing a lot of promise, but because it was against Navi, it's just one of those things that it doesn't get to showcase as well as it does. As we saw, even last week when they go up against Virtus Pro, both of those teams looking, in my opinion, better this week. So I'm anticipating, Mousesports have one more set today, what they're going to do there, but even looking into the future, how they can handle each other again, because it feels like there is a big gap between the top and the bottom just because Fnatic right now so phenomenal, and when you look at Mousesports and VP, in comparison, they just pale in the light. But when you do look at them individually as teams, they are very, very solid. And I think Mousesports gets those glimpses through when they play these top teams, but they just never get to finally break out.
Well, maybe Mousesports will have a breakout moment in the future, but for now, Navi sitting comfortably after that 3-0 victory. So, Desk, what do you have to say about it?
Pretty much summarizes it right there. 3-0 Navi feel good about what they did today. They did lose that one game against Virtus Pro, but overall they take both sets.
Yeah, looking super strong all across the board. And Mutu had that Terminator moment in this game as well. He won this very just mechanical 1v1 with Cybe 8, and then he just ripped through the rest of Mousesports. It was really fun to watch, actually, especially when he's playing a character like Leon. But as you can see here, that's not all he played today. Obviously looking good on his almost signature buck for this team, playing some really good mechanical Mave all across the board. Mutu having just one of those days, and when he is having one of those days, it is damn near impossible to deal with. Sometimes those superstar performances just prevent you from having any potential counterplay.
It's really nothing to counter. Somebody making these amazing shots and finding presences around the corner, enlightenments, and then somehow turning things around like that. I don't know what to say. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to start DDoSing them or doing something like that if you really want to stop it.
Sometimes it is that simple. There's no matchup. There's no item economy thing to break down. It's just that man hit his shots and that man didn't. And it's just that simple.
If you show up at his place of residence, you knock on the door, you pizza, you send him a pizza, maybe he'll get up, stop playing. I don't know, but that's the only way I can see to stop this guy.
And that's something that Navi actually do. They send each other like pizzas during.
Do they really?
When they're streaming and stuff like that.
That's funny.
Phoenix, I remember, got one from Unbe. That's what I saw, and I was like, wow, that's a really actually nice gesture from a teammate.
That's actually very, very funny. We've obviously, covered this set a little bit. We've got one more for the day. And I don't know if we're previewing that right now, if we're going straight to a break, but we still have more action in the PPL. And to me, this week has been a really cool showcase of the PPL and the players and the teams kind of coming into their own, a little bit more of a growth, like maturity week right here.
Ups and downs, guys, and like Evan said, one more matchup here. This could be, frankly, the most interesting one of the day. NIP versus Mousesports, a team on the up versus a team on the down, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And when you've got a big stand and a big question mark for Ninjas in Pajamas versus Mousesports, a team that are looking stronger than ever, you don't know where this one could end up.
There's definitely a lot to talk about there, but we're going to save that while we go to a quick break, get set up for that last set of the day, and then get into that one, NIP versus Mouse, right after this. We'll see you back for the last set of the EU PPL.